Thanks everyone for joining us today on KRTD News. We no longer it's First Fridays. Carrie Barber is no longer doing First Fridays. We're looking for new hosts, but today we have Joe Firestone filling in. Thanks for joining us, Joe Firestone.
Oh, thank you for having me, Shane Coughlin.
I didn't mean to say like. So let's get into this. We have some really interesting stories for you guys today. But let's get into our first story. Go ahead, Joe.
Okay, thank you, Shane. Our first story is going to be from Truth Out, and it's news about the Democrats introducing a bill to combat Republican voter suppression efforts. This is a new bill. Okay, it's in addition to HR 1S1 and HR 4 S4. And what this one addresses is the latest efforts of the Republicans to suppress the vote. So, okay, the new legislation was introduced in both the House and the Senate on Tuesday. Its purpose is to prevent the Republicans from allowing local election officials to be removed or appointed through partisan efforts. Okay, the article this is based on is by Sharon Zhang, okay, of Truth Out. A pretty good article. In states like Georgia, Republican state lawmakers have proposed and passed the legislation that reforms state election boards to be more partisan and allow for officials in charge of administering elections to be removed by partisan interests in the state legislature.
Mm-hmm.
Because Republicans control the majority of the chambers in the state legislatures across the country, such bills could help the GOP have absolute control over election results too. So the sponsors of this bill, called the Preventing Election Subversion Act of 2021, were Senators Warnock of Georgia, Klobuchar of Minnesota, Jeff Merkley of Oregon, and Representatives John Sarbanes, okay, of Maryland, and Zoe Lofgren, the Ancient One of California. That doesn't come from the article, of course. So,
our nameplates are reversed, by the way.
Oh, our nameplates are reversed. So you are Joe Firestone, and I am. Okay. Okay.
All right. Okay.
Okay.
So,
all right. So what the bill does is it proposes protections for local election officials who may be subject to removal for any reason or no reason at all. No reason at all. That's the favorite Republican reason. Take them away for no reason at all. Okay. So, would you like to ask any questions, Shane?
sure. So one of the things a lot of people probably thinking is this linked to HR 1 in any way? Is this linked to HR 2? What do you think?
I think you mean to refer to HR 1 and HR 4.
HR 1 and HR 4, yes.
The John Lewis Act, okay, is HR 4. So it is not right now linked, but the expected strategy, okay, is when the Senate considers debate over the For the People Act, okay, or S1 on Tuesday. Of course, they never had that debate, okay. You recall they weren't able to have that debate due to the filibuster. But right. The original plan was to have the debate, okay, and then when the bill comes to the Senate again at some later time, the lawmakers plan to add the Preventing Election Subversion Act as an amendment to S1.
Right. So one of the things to look at is, which is important to a lot of independents, is does this bill hurt third parties? Now, that's not the most important thing, but it is somewhat important. Because HR 1 did a little bit of damage to them. I'm not sure about HR 4, but I know this one.
I don't think the Preventing Election Subversion Act is at all going to exclude any third parties.
Okay? So this might be the one to go with.
Okay, it is strictly about stopping partisan efforts, okay, to replace electoral officials. So it is focused on that.
Excellent. Yeah. So this may be the bill to go with. It may not be the perfect bill. It may not have, and I hate saying it, may not have everything we need, HR 4 was probably a lot better than both of these bills, I'm going to assume.
No, no.
No?
This bill, HR 4K is certainly a great bill, and that has to be part, I think, of any final settlement on this. But I think this particular bill is essential because without this particular bill, the state legislatures can overturn the results of elections.
Hmm.
Okay, so in other words, they wouldn't even have to suppress the vote if they have control of the election officials. Then they can simply overturn elections. In other words, they can get an election official they want who will fail to certify elections.
That's definitely
So
a
this
dangerous
this
precedent.
is really a monstrous threat to the system. A monstrous
Oh,
threat to the system.
absolutely.
Okay.
Now,
I
knowing
uh,
all of that, this is a must-pass bill, I think. Now,
oh yeah, this is a must-pass bill. HR 4 is a much pass bill because it restores the Voting Rights Act of 1965, and there are parts of HR 1, okay, that are also necessary. Like, for example, getting rid of the gerrymander. That's really, really important. And getting rid of some of the voter suppression aspects, those are also very, very important. So
mhm.
maybe a few things in HR 1 could go and should go, especially those things that exclude the third parties, so that are disadvantageous to third parties. But there are still essential things in S1, okay, in HR 1 that have to be conserved.
So definitely looking at this bill is a must-pass bill. I would say some parts of HR 1 are good, and a lot of people overlook that when they're looking at what it does to third parties. Absolutely. Some parts of that bill are really good. And a lot of HR 4 is really good. So these are bills that are definitely, especially this one is a must-pass. Now, what we have to look at is there anyone who would vote against this bill, do you think, right now?
Um, okay, my guess is that both Joe Manchin, okay, and Kirsten Sinema will vote for this part of any omnibus bill.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't think that we're going to have HR 1 as written, HR 4, and this bill separately passed. There's going to be some sort of fusion bill that probably will have most of HR 4 in it, that will have this in it, and that will have parts, okay, of HR 1 in it. But there are parts of HR 1 that Joe Manchin is against. For example, there are parts that deal with campaign contributions that would probably impact the campaign contributions that he gets from the donors. And he's probably going to not be in favor of those particular provisions of HR 1.
Mhm.
So he's going to oppose probably those provisions.
Exactly.
Probably some other provisions, okay, in HR 1 too. He might be opposed to he might be in favor of the clause that stops the gerrymander. Okay, he might be in favor of that. He might be in favor of some of the voter suppression efforts that have to do with early voting, fooling around with the drop boxes, absentee voting. He might be in favor of some of the things in those bills concerning that. Um, if he's opposed to the parts of HR 1 that deal with campaign contributions, those were the parts that really disadvantaged the third parties.
Now, do we think is there any chance that he's in favor of that? I mean, or is there or what do you think?
I don't think he would be in favor of that because I don't think he's really much afraid of third parties.
So in this case, Joe Manchin may inadvertently, in his stubbornness, be working to help third parties accidentally.
Well, to prevent third parties from being hurt accidentally.
Exactly.
Yes,
Inadvertently, he may be the savior of the third party's
exactly.
issues in that bill. He may be their unintentional hero.
Yes, he may be. He
And
may
that's something
be.
I never really thought about before, but
Yeah, could be.
absolutely. So I think we've talked this story as much as we could. Let's take a look at story number 2.
Okay, let us move to story number 2.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's going to be Julian Assange.
No, it's the gray zone.
Oh, the gray zone. Okay. So, uh, there's a lady, if you want to call her that, who's been pursuing the gray zone in court for years. Her name is um, Sulomi Anderson. She's the daughter, okay, of Terry Anderson,
Mhm.
who was a reporter for the AP, who was caught in a hostage taking in the area of Beirut, Lebanon, and he became a hostage there for quite a long time. When he came home, after he came home, the family sued Iran for $341 million.
Mhm.
Okay, but the Iranians did not make any attempt to defend themselves. But there was money for the family to get, okay, because Iranian assets had been frozen by the U.S. government, and they could win a judgment where the winnings would be taken out of those assets. Okay, and so a U.S. court, a federal court, gave uh, $41 million to the family. And when I say $41 million, I think that's what the family got after things like the lawyer's fees, okay, and the other things that are taken out of winnings, okay, in a court case. So $41 million was given to the family, $25 million to Terry Anderson, $10 million to his wife, and $6.7 million to his daughter Salome. And so Salome Anderson had $6.7 million. And one of the things she used that for was to sue the gray zone because she had come under fire from the gray zone, okay, in an article written by uh, actually Ben Norton, okay, a few years back, who criticized some of her articles because she was in favor of the bombings of Syria, the activities of the White Helmets. Uh, she was running some very, very pro administration foreign policy articles that were distorting the truth. Now, those also happened to be articles which the people of Lebanon were laughing at because these articles were so silly, but
Mhm.
they were part of the propaganda machine of the United States there, basically. Okay, so the gray zone attacked, and in retaliation, uh, she decided to sue their butts. So she got a law firm to represent her, which was very friendly to Israel and very hostile, but to the Iranians. It's one of the biggest firms, okay, in Washington. Uh, and she got this guy Neuberger, an extremely Zionist type of lawyer, uh, um, to basically represent her as the plaintiff, okay, against the gray zone, and she sued them for $1 million, which of course the gray zone is a very small operation. Okay, it's an alternative media operation. It's very meticulous, okay, in the reporting it does. Okay, it's very honest, and it is very much concerned with exposing the truth, okay, of the activities of the United States in places like the Midwest, um, 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 Venezuela, um, okay, generally speaking, in quite a number of areas, okay, of Latin America, okay, and it's very active in the Middle East, all over the Middle East. So those are like two areas, okay, it concentrates on, and it's constantly debunking myths that are being circulated by the United States. Okay, so Salome was basically seeking to destroy the gray zone,
Hmm.
as she herself but frequently stated in tweets, okay, out in the open, and she made it clear that her suit was not about the truth; it was about seeking to destroy the gray zone. So, very recently, there has been a decision in the case. Okay, and the decision in the case, hang on a second,
Mhm.
which was rendered by the District of Columbia Superior Court and Judge William M. Jackson on June 16th of 2021. He rejected a frivolous $1 million lawsuit claiming libel, defamation, and tortious conspiracy that was filed by Salome Anderson against the Gray Zone's editor, Max Blumenthal, and assistant editor, Ben Norton, the author of the piece that she was objecting to. This put an end to the entitled heiress's 3-year-long campaign to smear and bankrupt the Gray Zone with the help of a powerful DC lawyer closely linked to the Israel lobby.
So what I've seen from her so far is she's extremely vengeful, and she's extremely persistent. She's been trying to destroy the gray zone because they wrote a bad article about her. She's got to get over herself.
She's extremely persistent, but she's also extremely stupid, I'm afraid.
I think she has a couple of screws loose.
I believe that's an objective judgment. She launched a Twitter tirade defaming the Gray Zone as a quote Russian propaganda conspiracy site. She subsequently taunted and threatened the lawyer of the Gray Zone, a guy by the name of William actually Moran, who was a friend, okay, of Blumenthal's and a long time personal attorney of his. Okay, and she tweeted, "I wish I could see your faces when your client is served and you see the letterhead. You're playing with the big boys now, Mr. Moran. This has very little to do with defaming me. It has to do with your assault on a free press and the reasons behind it. I'm done trading insults. Ciao." She tweeted this on the 12th of May, 2018. Then she did a Medium post and attempted to obscure her petty vendetta. I'm quoting from the article now, which is by Max Blumenthal, okay, and Norton, by casting herself as a noble defender of the free press and, quote, real, unquote, journalists threatened by evil dictators.
So my final impression of her is she's an establishment loving nutcase who has a vendetta against Benjamin Norton for writing a bad article about her. That's my judgment.
He wrote a good article about her, but
Oh,
writing an article that she did not care for. Now, some interesting side aspects of this case. She was supported by some powerful friends in the corporate media.
Mm.
CNN host Jake Tapper promoted it, that is the lawsuit, as did New York Magazine's in house neoliberal enforcer Jonathan Chait, who, according to the article, smeared us as, quote, domestic extremists. Jonathan Chait tweeted, "His story is worth your time. Her father was taken hostage in Lebanon for 6 years. Now she reports there and is being smeared by domestic extremists." He fails to name those domestic extremists, but he quotes her tweet, which names them. Okay, Max Blumenthal and Ben Norton. So he names them, but indirectly by quoting the tweet. Does Jonathan Chait.
I mean,
Anyway,
and
as she
also,
readied her lawfare campaign, Sulami flaunted her wealth and the high-powered legal attack dog she planned to sick on us.
well at the
While
same time, we've had Aaron Mate dealing with smears from the Young Turks, as well as other people in their wheelhouse, and he's connected with the gray zone, right?
Well, he
And
writes for the Gray Zone.
he writes for them,
he
right?
does right,
So the
right.
entire gray zone is batting zero with the shitlib department of, you know, um, of left wing media,
It's
and
not
it's
even that. They're busy fighting the shit libs. They're busy
yeah,
fighting the neoprogs. They're busy fighting the establishment all in one day.
and from all sides, yeah, and they had to do this one in quiet, without help, without other than the few Twitter spats which is also ridiculous and petty and wasn't needed. She wants to go
Right.
do
They weren't
intimidation
really
tactics with
able
them.
to say anything about this, okay,
Yeah,
on legal advice, okay, until this article appeared. I think I said the date was June 16th that they came out with this. I guess that was the date of the decision. The
had
date of
came
this
out.
article was June 29th, okay, 2000, okay, and 21. And what they do in this article is they vent the whole record of their dealings with Sulome, okay, and her lawyers, and
Mhm.
go through her record and her bio, okay, background on the family. They collected lots and lots of information during the 3 years about that family, and they have put it into this article, which I highly recommend. It is hilarious. They really take the knife to this whole family. Uh, okay, what this is okay, we don't want any moral hazard anymore about this. If you go after us in this kind of way in the future, you will pay the price. That's what they're saying to these people. Because if this lady, if her career survives this article, she will be very, very lucky, because this absolutely stamps her as someone who is totally unqualified to be any kind of journalist. Okay, I don't even think the mainstream is going to hire her again after this, because
Absolutely.
they really do a terrific job of taking her down.
She should take her money, cut her losses, and go away.
That's probably what she'd do at this point. She should take her money, go back to school, and get into an entirely different field. Perhaps she should learn how to do some research, some real research. Anyway,
Uh,
that's my view. I think we.
I got the perfect place for her. Since she's on that side, the Young Turks are launching their own journalism academy. Maybe she should go there.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. She won't get
uh,
quite nearly as many receipts as the gray zone is willing to, but
She'll fit right in.
great stuff from the gray zone as always. Y'all ready to go to the next story?
Yeah.
we are.
Okay.
think we are. I think we got to move along.
So this is a really important story. A key witness in the U.S. case against Assange changes his story. This is from Consortium News. Um, Joe, you want to do the first take?
Okay, I will certainly do the first take. Hang on one second. Yeah. Okay, so there was a key witness in the Julian Assange case. Okay, the article this is based on was written by, came out of the Consortium News, was written by Joe Lauria, who's a veteran correspondent, okay, of theirs. And the key witness's name was Sigurdur Siggy, quote unquote, Ingi Thordarson. And when he was involved with Assange, he was a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
And recently he told an Icelandic publication in an article that appeared on Saturday, let's get the dates of this clear. This article came out on June 27th, so it was the Saturday before that, okay, that we're talking about. And so Siggy told the publication that he made up the allegation that Assange asked him to hack a government computer. But that testimony that Siggy gave in court played a key part in the indictment against Assange for conspiracy to commit computer intrusion. But Thordarson, who is no longer a teenager but is now 28, was involved with Assange in 2010. The indictment alleges that, quote, in early 2010, Assange asked teenager to commit computer intrusions and steal additional information, including audio recordings of phone conversations between high-ranking officials of the government of NATO country 1, Iceland, including members of the parliament of NATO country 1, okay, unquote. And Thordarson has now told the publication Student that this is a lie. The publication reported. In fact, Thordarson now admits to Stunden that Assange never asked him to hack or access phone recordings, okay, of MPs. His new claim is that he had in fact received some files from a third party who claimed to have recorded the MPs and had offered to share them with Assange without having any idea what they actually contained. He claims he never checked the contents of the files, or even if they contained the audio recordings, as his third-party source suggested. He further admits the claim that Assange had instructed him or asked him to access computers in order to find any such recordings is false, unquote. And so Edward Snowden tweeted in response to this, "This is the end of the case against Julian Assange." So that's what he had to say about it. Thordarson's testimony is contained in a superseding indictment filed by the United States Justice Department, which aimed to bolster the conspiracy to commit computer intrusion card against Assange, carrying a maximum penalty of 5 years in prison. The indictment also charges Assange under the Espionage Act, a curse on that unconstitutional act. I don't care what you say, that is unconstitutional going on. For unauthorized possession and dissemination of defense information, which could add an additional 170 years in prison. This is absolutely insane, folks. Absolutely insane. Anyway, have you got any questions, Reef or Shane?
I think this is a very simple thing. you got to throw away the case now. That's it. Now the case has got to be thrown away. I mean, this guy, your star witness is a liar, is lying, and he just said he's lying. This case is over. They need to free Assange, and they can't hide it anymore.
I mean, it's been a long time coming in that front, right? You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it amazes, but we all know that this was frivolous lawsuit to begin with, right? For the most part, it was just a ploy to get, Julian behind some form of bars so that they could possibly extradite him.
It was a ploy to get him here.
Yeah.
So they could torture him in solitary confinement for a while.
The only thing that apparently threw a wrench in the matter is how terrible the U.S. prison system is, right?
That was
Absolutely.
the final wrench in the matter. Of course, the other wrench was thrown in the matter. Okay, because fortunately, the government of Ecuador, at one time, was run by a lefty guy with a sense of justice,
and was letting him stay in the embassy and
asylum to Assange in the embassy, in London. And so he was able to remain there in many years. But ironically, that had the effect eventually of imprisoning him in the embassy for some time. So he's been in prison since roughly 2010. I believe it's since 2010.
Well, no, he exposed the 2016 corruption with Hillary Clinton, which they also don't like. So,
which they also don't like. But the point is, he's been in the embassy since 2010 or 2011. It's maybe 10 years since he's been inside. I mean, 10 years since he's seen the light of day.
Absolutely.
So he's been imprisoned for that long. And so what you have to say about this is that it's already had all the deterrent effect it is going to have. The reason why the U.S. was after him in the first place was because they wanted to deter other whistleblowers. They wanted to put the fear of God in them. That's what this was always about. And because of the ramifications of the legal system and the power of the United States to control other countries and influence other countries, he's in effect already been imprisoned for 10 years.
Right.
Exactly.
Plus imprisonment in Ecuador, and plus now how long has he spent waiting on these trials and stuff like that? I'm sure they can let him out on practically time served at this point, right? And thankfully there's a couple
they don't
of
have anything.
Yeah, they don't have anything. So
they don't. He has not committed any crimes that he's been convicted of.
Right. Yep.
But the only thing they can possibly get him on is there was a little, something in the UK, a technicality that when he sought asylum in the embassy and he went into the asylum, he violated some UK law, for which the normal violation penalty for that law is something like 30 days in prison or something like that. It's some very, very short time.
Can we time out the guy in the chat who keeps spamming? Don't ban him, just time him out.
I think so.
Chaos Ing.
Yeah, I got it. Anyway.
Timed him out?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I mean, thankfully for, they apparently like you a lot, Joe.
Chaos. It's Chaos Ing.
Right.
It's old chaos again.
Yeah.
Trying to create chaos.
Yeah. Apparently you don't like the Italian MMT Subway sandwich or something. I don't know.
He's claiming there are MMTers all over the world.
I'm sure there is.
There are, but
has ever heard of.
Yeah, I'm sure there is.
Nothing, he can't give any links to those people because he doesn't have any links because he doesn't know the MMTers.
You need to credit John Paul Jing Joan. Okay.
Sure, we'll look into it. I think this. I'm thankful that there's people out there that are still, trying to keep Julian's flame lit somewhere. Right, I know our friends Action for Assange, and and I want to give credit to the few, country, you know, politicians like in Australia and Ireland who come out and speak very good things of WikiLeaks and Assange, and the thing to take away from this is be careful what journalism you do and who you piss off, because
On this
you can
one,
be in an
I want to give.
Ecuadorian embassy for 10 years. So
Oh,
you know
absolutely. I want to give credit to a couple of people. I only saw about, and Joe, I think we only saw about 5 people cover this in the last couple of weeks. I saw World Socialist website cover this. I saw Democracy Now cover this. I saw Kyle Kalinske cover this. I saw Jimmy Dore cover this. And there's another one, Joe. You mentioned it before we started.
The Taylor Hudak.
Taylor Hudak. Besides that, I haven't seen anybody cover this story. And of course, Action for those groups that are in favor of Assange are going to cover it, but that's not necessarily. But yeah. So nobody wants to touch this story. Everybody is afraid. Um, I know that Julian's brother and father have been making their rounds on the show. They were on Jimmy Dore last week. They were on Crystal, Kyle, and Friends, and that
yeah,
video is going to air tomorrow.
they did that the home run for Assange thing with who all
For
was
Assange,
there?
yeah.
Misty, Franco, Lee Camp, right?
Yeah, they're doing the home run for Assange thing, I
Assange.
think.
Yeah.
But they're touring the United States doing it.
I know if you check Misty's Twitter and stuff, I think they all gave statements at some event yesterday or 2 days ago, right? Where his father and son with, which how much does that suck? You have to go around the country begging, countrymen to not try to kill your son,
Right.
like
Okay. So that is me.
yeah.
If you hang on for a minute, what I'll do is I'll share my screen, and you'll see Taylor Hudak. Giving
How do we allow him to share his screen?
today.
I got it.
Hold on. Hang on a second, and I'll share the screen.
Sure.
I can
Oh,
do that.
that's nice. Elizabeth Warren is in the chat.
Oh, that's
yes.
nice.
Oh,
Yeah, I
yes.
didn't know the senators watched
We
our
have
show.
all of these famous people in the chat.
I mean, she sneaks in like some reptile that slithers, something like that.
She says, "In theory, I support Assange, but only in theory. I won't fight for him, though." That's funny. Whoever's cosplaying or doing that as Elizabeth Warren, or what is he, satiring? Great job.
Right. Okay. So
Very accurate.
Can you see this yet?
We cannot. I don't think.
Okay. Hang on a second. I'll get it.
If you put the link in chat, I can bring it up.
Okay. I should be able to share the screen.
Is there an echo?
Maybe on his, but he's listening to a video, I think.
Oh,
But anyway.
no, I'm not. Okay, I somehow got out of the meeting. I don't know why.
The work that she's done, traveling literally the world, covering Julian space. The cell phone camera and the hope of getting close to the court case.
But we have a little bit of an echo on our head.
2 years later, she's interviewed almost any.
It's Joe's video.
Here yet, she's about to start.
You there, Joe?
Yeah, I think I am.
Okay. Yeah, I think we're hearing your audio come through the mic.
For being here, John Shipton. It is good to see you again, and Gabriel, thank you for also being here, and a big thank you.
Thank you for Action for Assange for boosting it. whoever's
Able to get that to work.
it's
I'm
okay.
not sure.
We'll test it for next time. That way you can do it.
So here's what I think. You gotta free Assange now. I know it was rude of him to expose the Iraq war logs. I know it was really rude. No, wait, hang on. We haven't considered this angle. Does anybody consider it was rude of him to expose Hillary Clinton's emails
I
and to
mean,
expose the Iraq
it
war
was
logs?
definitely at least uncouth, right? I mean, I think if he had, at least put, a watermark on what he was doing, put it on
Mhm.
nice letterhead, and kindly sent a, messenger to bring them this information, wrapped in a bow, that would be one thing. But I think because he put it online, they just don't know how the internet works, and they didn't get his email or something. I don't know.
Well,
You know,
they deleted the email.
yeah. I mean, they know it enough to have a whole server bank to themselves, but you know, I just find it amazing that we're still having to beg for Julian Assange to be let out. I mean, it's just kind of at this point, especially when their cases don't hold water against him. I mean, every time they've tried to lock this guy up, he's had the receipts, he's had everything in order, right? Um, but yeah, I find it crazy. But yeah, shout out to the people over at A for A. They're doing great stuff on that.
Absolutely, and then absolutely, yeah. And we sometimes stream their stuff. We've been having some technical issues, but they should be back on Saturday on our channel if there's no more technical issues.
Okay.
I know everybody has those. That's very nice. So, we have some visitors in the chat today, Joe. I think they're here for you.
Okay, hang on a second. Let me see if I can see him. Oh, in the chat. There it is.
I got it.
The chat.
You're good.
Yeah, why don't we address these people real quick? We're going to address you, and then we're going to move on to our next story. We're going to address you because why not?
I already
Yeah, why
dealt with it, so whatever. He's not even here anymore. But
Oh.
you can
that
get in
was
touch with him.
chaos.
Yeah, it was the same thing. I'm sure you've gotten him out of your circle too. So anyway,
Well, he wasn't at my stream last night for some reason.
Oh,
we
I don't know. So rest in power, Mike Gravel.
Rest in power, Mike. Absolutely.
91 years old. Tragedy.
The one thing I have on this is the quote from Huey P. Long that he supposedly said as he died was that please God don't take me now. I have so much left to do. And that definitely seems fitting of Mike Gravel. But
It's
Definitely.
I mean we started
Hey,
with
he's got to run for president again.
I mean his the fights he's been in have been pretty great. I mean, you've got he read the Pentagon Papers out loud to Congress, right? I mean that's like Julian Assange walking in and reading the Hillary emails,
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean this is what Oliver North and I'm on our entire debacle in Vietnam, right?
Right.
Oh,
So
he's been a champion for non-interventionalism. He's been a champion for ending wars. He's been a champion for all that stuff, and he's in favor of Medicare for all and all that other stuff. He was really great.
Yeah.
Joe, you want to?
Yes. Okay, I do. Should we start with that clip, Reef?
I think I have that. Yeah, this is the one from Democracy Now, right?
Yeah. If you can
So this is from
that.
Democracy Now. They're gonna go into Gravel.
Arms.
I can't hear it.
Arms are being severed.
Ruth, we can't hear it.
Oh, you can't hear it? Oh, here I got
No.
you.
Are you sharing sound?
Yep. I am now.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Mike Gravel, the former presidential candidate and Democratic U.S. Senator from Alaska, died this weekend at the age of 91. In the 70s, he was fiercely opposed to the Vietnam War and the draft. He played a seminal role in the release of the Pentagon Papers. That's the 7,000 pages of top-secret documents outlining the secret history of the U.S. war in Vietnam. The leak would end up helping take down President Nixon, help end the Vietnam War, and lead to a major victory for press freedom. While the papers were leaked to the New York Times and the Washington Post by Dan Ellsberg, Gravel spearheaded a one-man push to get the pages of the Pentagon Papers into the congressional record so that it would become public record, then anyone could read them and publish them. Beacon Press went on to do just that, publishing a 7-volume set of the Pentagon Papers. Tomorrow, June 29th, is the 50th anniversary of the day in 1971 when Gravel read the Pentagon Papers into the record. He cried within seconds and could not continue. But when he came out of the session, someone told him that since he'd started reading them, he could have the rest automatically put into the record. In 2007, I moderated a panel with Senator Mike Gravel and Dan Ellsberg and the head of the Beacon Press, Robert West, talking about how the Pentagon Papers were made public. But here we're going to 1971, where Mike Gravel attempted to read the documents into the record.
I know of nothing in our history to equal it for extent of failure and extent of loss in all aspects of the term. We can people, human beings, are being killed as I speak to you tonight, killed as a direct result of policy decisions we as a body have made. Arms are being severed. Metal is crashing through human bodies because of a public policy. This government, one may respond that we made such a sacrifice to preserve freedom and liberty in Southeast Asia. One may respond that we sacrifice ourselves on the continent of Asia so that we will not have to fight a similar war on the shores of America. One can make these arguments only if he has failed to read the Pentagon Papers. That is the terrible truth of it all.
In the midst of him speaking, he broke down crying. Yes, that's Democratic Senator Mike Gravel attempting to read the Pentagon Papers into the record, the congressional record, 50 years ago. He died this weekend at the age of 91. In 2007, in Portland, Oregon, I moderated an event at the annual conference of the Unitarian Universalist Church in Portland, Oregon, commemorating the publication of the Pentagon Papers by the Beacon Press, their publishing house. One of the main speakers was Alaska Senator Mike Gravel. Today we bring you his extended remarks as he laid out how he received the Pentagon Papers from Washington Post journalist Ben Bagdikian, who in turn had gotten them from Pentagon Papers whistleblower Dan Ellsberg.
Let me just pick up where he left off, because it really, there's a lot of little vignettes, and I'll talk fast, but I want to get all the details out, because I know what you want to know is the inside skinny. You can read the broad lines, but it's what happened to both our lives at the time that Dan calls my office. He talks to Joe Rothstein, who was my administrative assistant. my administrative assistant, I was down in the Senate gym getting a massage. I was on a table. And of course, you can't have staff come into the Senate. This is hallowed ground. So, into the Senate gym. So he's knocking at the door. He says, I've got to see the senator. It's an emergency. And he works his way in to get into the massage stall. And the masseur pulls back a little bit, and he whispers down in my ear. He says, somebody wants to give you the Pentagon Papers. I said, man, where is he? He says, he's going to call us back. So, man, I get dressed up real quick. We bolt back to the office, and I'm sitting in my office waiting for this call. Along comes his voice. He says, Senator, would you read the Pentagon Papers as part of your filibuster? I says, yes. Now, please hang up. The reason for that is I have a background in intelligence. When I was 23 years old, I was a top secret control officer. I could classify and I could declassify, and I was 23 years old. So now here are the papers coming at me. I had a sense of what they were, was a history. And of course I had read what the Times had published, and so lo and behold, Dan and I have other conversations. To tell you the truth, our memories are a little vague. He informed me about something that I didn't know, and occasionally I'd done that with him when he was doing his memoir, Secrets. We spent there a couple of days. Oh, is that your interpretation of what you think we did? Yes. Well, no, that's my, oh, no, we did it that way. And what happens, that's human beings. We all have a different read on some of the details. The long and short of it is, he called me in a few days, and he was angry. He's on the phone. He says, why the hell haven't you used the papers? And I says, why the hell haven't you got them to me? I don't have them. I haven't heard anything. So he goes back to Ben Begdickian, and Ben then contacts my office. Well, quite candidly, I didn't know who Ben was, but he wanted to get to meet with me. So we meet somewhat secretively on the front steps of the Capitol behind a column in broad daylight during the session. So Ben is standing there. We're talking about it, how we're going to move the papers across, and then out comes Bob Dole, who's one of my enemies, but we're on the same committee, and he walks up, and Begdickian is slipping behind a column, so he can't be seen. So I get rid of Dole fairly fast, and so we go back, and Begdickian had this plan. We're going to meet someplace out in the country, you know, Rock Creek Park in the dark. Hey, wait a second, Ben. I got to tell you, I got a little more experience in this than you have. What we're going to do, here's how we're going to transfer the papers. You're going to come at 12 o'clock at night under the marquee of the Mayflower Hotel in Washington, D.C. at 12 o'clock. You park your car there. I will come up with my car. You open your trunk. I'll open my trunk, and I'll pop the papers in, and I'll race off. That's the way we'll do it before God and country, and they won't even know what happened. Well, what happens? A group of Alaska Natives walk by. Oh, there's our senator. And they all want to come up and talk with me. And I'm trying to peel them away. Well, I've got to run. I've got to run. And so I got in my car. We did that. We transferred the papers. I sped away, parked my car, came back in, and Ben and I had a coffee. I took the papers home. Where are you going to put them? I brought them home. That's the first time I told my wife at the time, Rita, I says, I got the Pentagon Papers right here. And of course, the whole world was looking, trying to chase him down and catch him and get the papers. And he said, what are you going to do with them? We're going to put them under the bed and we're going to sleep on them. That's what we're going to do. We did. Next morning, I'm dyslexic, and so I couldn't read all those papers if it took me a year. And so what happened, I started calling staff in, and I said, look, you're going to come in, you bring a toilet kit, don't tell your wife what you're doing, you're just coming to the senator's house, and I met him at the door, and I said, look, I've got the Pentagon Papers. You come in, you can't leave until I leave. But I won't think ill of you if you don't come in, because there's risk that we don't know anything about. And so everyone to the person said, hey, Senator, let me have it. So about 4 or 5 people for 2 days were sleeping on the living room floor, and we would go through the papers. The style that I used in going through it, I was reading my little portion of it, the first part of it, which is the most historic and most interesting part. But the others I said, whenever you come across a name, come and show me the name. I would then read around the context and make a judgment, is that this should be excised or not. And when we exercised, we didn't just take a pencil, we took scissors and cut it out, so there'd be no misunderstandings. Now, I've got to bring the papers from my home to the Capitol. And so I buy 2 flight bags. You know those old flight bags without wheels? I buy 2 of those to honor the papers. And so I spend the money, pack them up with 2 bags like that, and so I'm going to take them to the Capitol. But now I'm concerned. So I call the Vietnam Veterans of America, and I say, look, I've got a problem. I need somebody to guard my office. And what I want the most disabled veterans you can find. Well, and lo and behold, I trudge in, and I wouldn't let my staff touch the paper. So I trudge in with my 2 big bags, heavy, and of course staff is walking with me, and the cops there looking, why the hell's the senator carrying the bags and the staff is not carrying his bags? So we walk down to the end of the hall, and there are about 6, 7 soldiers in uniform, you know it, ponytails, badges all over, all in wheelchairs. And they could do wheelies, and all they could do, they didn't know what I had. All they said, go get him, Senator, go get him. I'm just about to cry with the
I mean,
commitment of
is
these
this
human
Gravel's
beings.
HBO
And
comedy
they guarded
special?
the office. No, but they were
You know,
throwing their
really
bodies
funny.
at anybody that tried
It
to
is
break
really
in.
funny.
I had the
It's just
papers,
also
I go,
really long. It's
It's really long, but it also gives the impression of the man, and you still don't quite have it. Let's go for a few more minutes.
to the floor of
Let's
the
go for a
Senate.
few more minutes,
Now, I had
and then
made a
let's
deal
look
with
at his
Alan
debate.
Craig. I wanted to read in the filibuster. Now, I had a little bit of ego trip going on here. I wanted to break Strom Thurmond's record in filibustering. So, and the draft was going to expire at the end of the month. So I wanted to get 2 days, about almost close to 48 hours, and break his record. Now, how are you going to do that? Most people don't know when Huey Long and those guys used to debate. What they do is they're drinking a lot of water, they pee right on the floor, right on the Senate floor. They make no mistake about it, but I'm a little more cultured than that. And so what I do is I rig myself up. I go to the doctor's office. I tell him what's going on, tell him when I got filibuster. And so he rigs me up with a colostomy bag with little holes down to my ankle. And my administrative assistant's job is going to bleed the colostomy bag. Then it gets better than that. We now go to, I gotta get somebody in the chair because you can't control the floor if you don't control the chair. So I go to Alan Cranston, my closest friend. I say, Alan, I need help. What do you need, Mike? I got the Pentagon Papers. Oh my God, Mike, you need more than help. You got problems. So he says, I said, Alan, you don't have to do anything to risk. You don't have to touch the papers. You just get in the chair. By 5 o'clock, we'll turn around, and you just stay in that chair as long as I'm filibustering. And that was our plan. And so I said, now go down to the doctor's office and get a colostomy bag. He does that, and of course, I had a rubber mat. It was very interesting to go into the dynamics of that. So lo and behold, I come to the floor of the Senate. I'm trudging in.
Why don't
Go
we
ahead.
stop it here? As Reef said, this is Mike Gravel's comedy special, and it's really good.
yeah. You guys should go to Democracy Now and you know, look at this whole
Watch the
speech.
booklet.
Yeah, I mean it's
So,
20 minutes of
but
your
what-
time. But
But I want to show you something else with Gravel that shows he was really awesome. So this is from the 2008.
I did want to
presidential
say on
election.
this, I think it's interesting that Graffel is willing to go into the details of that whole story, right?
Oh yeah.
And you know, I wish this is part of my thing with even now, you know, the Democrats are afraid of the filibuster. Use it. Use the tools put in place, right? Do the things that Gravel was willing to do. You can, within the rules that are set up, you can play a hardball game. You know.
Imagine if a Bernie Sanders
Okay,
did
but
the filibuster.
right now, you cannot play the hardball game.
Right.
And the reason why you cannot play the hardball game right now is because you can have your staff assistant phone in the filibuster, email in the filibuster, and say, I am filibustering. And you never have to get on that floor. You never have to outfit yourself with the colostomy bags.
Right.
And
You never have to get
go
reading
through.
material. Yeah. I mean, you have to be talking the whole time.
1971.
So how?
And back then, they had the old rules, and that is why he had.
Well, when Ted Cruz filibustered, he talked for like 3 days or something. Or
Something like that. I mean, I know from my high school civics class, right? You know, I which hopefully people are still getting those. But you know, it was what you had to be talking, right? You know, there had to be certain rules in place. You had to be allowed to have the floor, right? Things like that.
Right. You had to hold the floor.
Right, which means you need control of the chair because the chair can tell you to, yield your time, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Right? So,
Imagine this. Let's say Bernie Sanders is trying to get his $15 minimum wage.
yeah,
He says the next bill, I'm going to filibuster
right. I
the
Right.
mean,
next thing
I mean
unless
the,
we vote on the 15L. And this would work for anyone. Warren with their wealth tax, she could say, I'm a filibuster the next bill unless we have a vote on my wealth tax. You don't have
right.
a
Now,
choice there.
what I don't know, Joe, is these new rules. When did they change? Do you remember?
They changed a number of times. The first time they changed was when in 1974, okay, when Senator Byrd, okay, of West Virginia, Robert Byrd, okay,
Right.
of West Virginia, changed the cloture rule so that you could not shut off a filibuster with 67 votes anymore. You had to have only 60 votes. So that
Right.
was a liberalization of the filibuster rule.
Yeah.
Okay, but then in more recent years, further changes were made to the filibuster rule. I think the first time that happened was somewhere in the 1990s, the late 1990s, or maybe it was 2007, okay, or 2008. But that's what created the situation, okay, that Mitch McConnell is using today. Specifically, that's what created the possibility for people to phone in a filibuster, okay, or
Yeah.
to email in a filibuster. That's fairly recent, okay, but that is what has stopped it from being necessary for people to get up in front of the Senate and to talk and to hold the floor. And while that was a way of delaying things,
Yeah.
the filibuster could always be broken after a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
Someone might take, the record was held by Strom Thurmond, who
Right.
had a 34-day filibuster, okay,
Yeah.
at one time. But that was the longest that they were able to delay anything, because
Right.
you could always shut off a filibuster.
Yeah, with enough votes, right?
No, he had to always be talking. So what? He's got some guys bringing him food and water.
Yeah,
Well,
pretty
he's
much.
got-
I think there was breaks that were allowed. There's certain
Uh,
rules in place there.
I'm sure there's got to be. It's 34 days.
There were always times also where 2 or 3 people would be able to get
Right.
together.
The group filibuster is what I always saw was the real powerful one, right? Where it's like, okay, you and 2 other senators and one person in the chair can essentially, stonewall anything the opposition can be trying to do, right? Just because, if you have control of particular things, right?
But for quite
Absolutely.
some time. But those filibusters still could be broken, okay, eventually.
What was the last? Have we seen like a phone-in filibuster? How does that work?
Oh yeah, we always see a phone-in filibuster, either a phone-in filibuster, okay, or email-in filibuster. The way that works is somebody has a staff assistant
Yeah.
send in a note to the majority leader of the Senate,
Right.
reporting, I am filibustering this.
I
Yeah.
think that's really weird.
So they don't have to.
That's
So that
all it takes. And once they do that, it takes 60 votes to break the filibuster.
okay. So
If
it's
you don't
it's
have
it's
the 60
essentially the
votes,
same thing without all the without the faff of having to talk and put in effort and whatever.
Right.
I mean,
put in effort, get out there, actually debate.
yeah.
In other words, supposedly the whole justification for the filibuster is this is the greatest debating society in the world.
Yeah.
We get up and we talk and we talk and we talk and we talk and we talk.
Yeah.
And this is unique. It's a unique institution in the world.
Right.
Okay. And so they say we've got to have the filibuster so we can have a debate.
Yeah.
But the point is, in modern times, they no longer have the debates because they phone in the filibuster. And then they sit around and wait and see if the
I mean,
opposition can.
what it does, what that change probably does, is make it to where people can ignore filibusters in quiet, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it used to be that if you started a filibuster, you were filibustering. That's what was happening then, and people started to figure out as you were speaking, right? It's not like, by the time you've went through your fourth Dr. Seuss book, people are going, okay, well, we're, this is where we're at. Okay, he's made it to the joy of cooking, right? We're how long is he going to be here for, right?
Right. The parts of those filibusters
Yeah.
were the actual reasons
Yeah.
that people gave, okay, for opposing bills. So the American public could see
would learn and hear about, yeah.
They gave. So if we had a filibuster like that at this point,
for
these
anything,
right-wing guys and gals would have to get up and would have to give their reasons, and it would soon become apparent to people that their reasons were actually racism.
Yeah.
Or their reasons were wanting to stop the democracy, or their reasons, those things will become apparent to the American public, so that when the filibuster was shot down,
yeah,
the issues would actually have been vetted and people would understand what all these issues are. The advantage of the silent filibuster for those who want to block something is that they never have to tell the American public why they're blocking it.
Right.
They can invent all kinds of fairy tales.
Yeah, and as long as if your party agrees with your filibuster, they help you. If your party doesn't agree with it, right, you're never gonna see it, because they're immediately gonna vote your filibuster down, and you won't have anything to go with, right?
Right. Okay, so
I think
the chat.
I got it. Don't worry about it. I think for me, I would still do filibusters now. There's nothing stopping you from doing vocal ones, right?
But the thing is, who has the courage to do it at this point? Nobody.
Yeah. I think I would love if there's members of the squad or whatever, or be able to do that, right? And I don't see why they shouldn't. I know they won't.
I don't think.
Right, but I think it's at a point where any opportunity to compete with the establishment we should take, which is what Mike Gravel does well.
This is Democracy
right?
Now! Democracy.
And here was his take of taking an opportunity where he ran for president, right?
Yeah,
and is willing to go on that stage and eviscerate people.
I just want to give a little bit of context about who's there. So in this clip, you're about to see Hillary Clinton, you're about to see Barack Obama, you're about to see Joe Biden, and a couple of other people that I don't remember.
2008? Okay.
Yeah.
Senator Gravel, at a forum earlier this year, I want to get this right. You said it doesn't matter whether you are elected president or not. So then why are you here tonight? Shouldn't debates be for candidates who are in the race to win the race?
Ryan, you're right. I made that statement. But that's before I had a chance to stand with them three times. It's like going into the Senate. The first time you get there, you're all excited. My God, how did I ever get here? Then about 6 months later, you say, how the hell did the rest of them get here? And I got to tell you, after standing up with them, some of these people frighten me. They frighten me. When you have mainline candidates that turn around and say that there's nothing off the table with respect to Iran, that's code for using nukes, nuclear devices. I got to tell you, I'm President of the United States. There will be no preemptive wars with nuclear devices. To my mind, it's immoral, and it's been immoral for the last 50 years as part of American foreign policy.
Let's use a little moderator discretion here. Senator Gravel, that's a weighty charge. Who on this stage exactly tonight worries you so much?
Well, I would say the top-tier ones. Top tier ones. They've made statements. Oh, Joe, I'll include you too. You have a certain arrogance. You want to tell the Iraqis how to run their country. I got to tell you, we should just play get out.
I love that clip. He's saying the top tier candidates. He's like, oh, and Joe, I'll include you. Like Joe Biden wasn't really a top tier candidate. He's like, you know what? Let me include you for this. Okay. Like he's insulting. Like, he's got it pegged. All those guys were dangerous. And we saw with Obama, he was right.
Yeah, and of course we know he was right with Hillary too. She
And
was
Hillary and Joe.
dangerous. And
And Joe
Joe.
Biden. Now he's a lot stronger. Now any of the modern day, lefties or progressives are a lot weaker than him. The Elizabeth Warrens, the Bernie Sanders, the Ed Markeys. Have we ever seen any of them filibuster? Have we ever seen any of them force
Yeah,
any
And
vote?
we
Bernie
seen Bernie
did
Sanders.
definitely.
Bernie did, but
Uh,
recently,
we have seen him on the filibuster, but that was sort of an arranged thing.
Yeah.
In other words, he arranged for a 24-hour filibuster. Why
Right.
did he have to arrange that?
Because the Democratic Party holds his food bowl. You know.
No, not because of that. It was because it was possible to shut down his filibuster at any time with the 60 votes.
Yep.
So he made a prior arrangement with people on both sides of the aisle to refrain from shutting him down.
Yeah.
So he could make his statements.
You only need what,
So-
10% to defect from one side to make that happen, pretty much, right? You know.
You need 10 votes.
Yeah.
So 10% of the Senate.
so Mike
Okay, so, it could be 5 votes from each side if there's a 50-50.
Gravel, in a lot of ways, he had a lot more courage, I would say, than the modern day lefties
Well, and
and
this
the
is-
modern day progressives.
Yeah, I think
In a lot of
granted
ways.
this is a Democratic debate, and we know even Kamala Harris is willing to go hard on Joe Biden during those, because it's just a debate. But I think from what I've seen of Gravel, that guy holds no punches, regardless of where he's at, right?
That's
So
the thing.
I mean,
He's not gutless.
I think he does make tactical decisions, okay, or used to, make tactical decisions occasionally. But I'm willing to live with that if they're also willing to, take, courage to power, essentially, right? Like that's your only options at this point for things like that.
Now, let me ask. This is a question for Joe, and Reef, you can answer also. In the 2020 election, he did run for president. Was there, and he wasn't able to get on the stage, was there actually a place for him? You had the Bernie Sanders and the Warren voters divided, the lefties divided between those two. Was there a place for him to actually get in there?
Partially for the same reason he was able to get in here, right? Before this clip starts, they begin to ask him, why are you on the stage if you're not wanting to win, right?
No, but he didn't get in. That's what
Right.
I'm asking. Was there?
But they also,
for him in 2020?
I think so, right? I know Jimmy Dore was trying to get him on debate stages, I think.
Here's what happened.
Yeah.
His initial stated goal was merely to qualify for debates by getting the required 65,000 small donors.
Which I think he was close, right?
He discouraged people from actually voting for him.
Yeah.
Okay. Said his preferences were Bernie Sanders and Tulsi Gabbard.
Yep.
Yes.
Because they both favored a non-interventionist
stance.
foreign policy.
Yep.
But on April 29th, his campaign said he was running to win, not just to participate in debates. But in a subsequent interview, he emphasized the virtue of Sanders and Tulsi Gabbard in some order as a presidential ticket. So statements like these caused Vox to call Gravel 2020's the most odd Democratic presidential candidate.
Right.
Yeah.
And
I
that's
think
the other thing. I don't think there were any, as good as Gravel is, a lot of the new younger generation was split between Sanders and Warren and Tulsi and Yang. I don't think a lot of them actually knew who he was.
Well, Gravel, I mean, yeah, and if he never made it to the debate stage, he wouldn't have been able to, right?
Exactly.
I think us in the know definitely like him and whatever, but if he had gotten on that debate stage, it would have been different, though.
They crossed the threshold.
It would have been different.
65,000 donors on July 12th of 2019.
Yeah, and then I think they
marked for that month's debate But
Right.
because 20 other candidates had already met at least the polling criterion,
Yeah.
which has great priority over the donor criterion, he was not invited.
Permitted.
Because
Yeah.
he was the 21st candidate, and they only had space up there on the stage for 20 candidates.
That's really weird.
Yeah, because
really,
they
yeah,
couldn't
you can't get another
grab the
podium in
podium from the storeroom. Yeah, like that's, you know, I mean, I feel them. I know why they're given a reason for that, but you know, it was when I remember it happening, it was like, oh, he got the signatures. Oh, well, we're now only accepting, you know, thing, and we don't have room, and you know,
But they were
it's
changing the rules in midstream.
right.
And they did do this all the time. They did it to Lisa Savage when she was running as an independent in Maine for Senate. She made it into the first two debates. In the
Yeah.
middle of the process, they changed the rules so
Yeah,
she couldn't make it into
Tulsi
debate
too.
3.
Tulsi too. They did that to Tulsi. I'm pretty sure they did that to Yang as well. You know, I think having Mike Gravel on that stage with Sanders and Tulsi and, you know, Yang, you know, it could have been, you know, Gravel being the Democratic bulldog, right, and coming from the actual left side of things and calling out Biden again, calling out Clinton again, calling out Kamala Harris, right? You know, it would have made debates a lot, you know.
It would have made them actually more exciting.
Yeah.
But
he may have been
it
able
also
to.
would have given cover to Bernie Sanders and Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah.
So that would have helped.
Agreed.
You also would have seen in some of the early debates, you actually saw, which I actually thought was interesting, alliances between Sanders, sometimes between Sanders and Tulsi, between Sanders and Warren, between Sanders and Yang. You may have seen an alliance between Sanders and Gravel.
Right.
Oh yeah, I think there was certainly a good possibility of that.
Yeah.
It would have been a great debate.
Yeah, I would have too.
It would have been much more interesting.
Was that our last?
Gravel?
I think that was our last slide.
Why don't we take? Absolutely. I just got word from Andrew. He's not able to join us. That's unfortunate.
That's fine. Yeah,
Well,
we'll catch him on. We'll catch him on and have him talk about stuff. So
absolutely.
One thing I wanted to emphasize here.
Yes, sir.
Was that 2007 speech. The reason why I thought that was so good, it was because it provided real insight into the personality of this guy and what kind of a rare individual he was. And to brush him off, as the mainstream press did, as someone who was merely a gadfly with a theatrical sense, when in the contribution he made with the Pentagon Papers, certainly had an impact in ending the Vietnam War and saving lives. It was a very, very important thing to do. Very important thing to do. It also affected the reforms of the late 70s that tried to gain control over the military-industrial complex and the deep state. Now, I think those reforms failed, but for a while, they appeared to succeed, and he was instrumental in getting that done. And he had nothing to do with the shift of the country over to neoliberalism. That wasn't his fault. Okay, if that hadn't happened, probably the reforms that he helped to support and that he helped to introduce would have kept this country safe for a long time.
We'll
Now here's
we'll end with this.
I just want to ask Joe this one question, then we can end with this video.
Go ahead.
On the off chance that Gravel actually won the Democratic nomination, which they wouldn't allow, who do you think his VP would have been?
I think it would have been Bernie Sanders.
Or something equally as spicy as Gravel, right? So But
Okay,
anyway,
let's take a look at
here's
that.
here's his
I think Bernie's pretty spicy.
I do
He
too.
can
Yeah.
I do
spicy.
too. Yeah. You know, I wish he was spicier occasionally, but you
Me
know.
too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Anyway, here's Gravel's ad. I don't remember exactly what this is for, but I'm sure we'll find out at the end. But I think it's pretty good. I think it was presidential campaign, but we'll see. Let me move the card over to this one, right, and then hit play.
It won't play. Oh, there it is.
It's playing. This is Mike Gravel.
I can't hear anything. Nope.
And boy, he looked pretty good in that. Anyway.
Yeah, hold on. It's not done yet. It's a slow burn, and there's
I can't
definitely
hear
audio.
it.
You should be able to.
Nope. No, I just can't hear it. The audio's not coming through.
Yes, I can hear you.
Sorry, everyone, for the technical difficulties there.
It's going through on screen. And then he walks off. Throws the rock in the water, walks off. That was the commercial. That was it.
Can rest in power, Mike Gravel.
Yeah, dude. You will be missed for sure.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for joining us this week.
You were quite a pistol.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, everyone,
Yep.
for joining us this week. Thank you, Joe.
Like and subscribe, hit that bell. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, at KRTD Media. Go find Joe Firestone
Follow us
stuff.
on MySpace, everybody.
Yep. MySpace, definitely. Hit me up on AIM. Joe, you want to plug your stuff?
Yeah, sure. You can find me at Joseph Firestone on YouTube and at Let's Get It Done on Facebook. And you can find me on KRTD Media in the mornings with Morning Joe Rewinds.
Yep. Yep. Morning Joe is not affiliated with us in any way. They stole our name, I think, at one point, and we had to add Firestone on. But yeah, no, good stuff. But yeah, that's KRTD out. You guys have a good time doing whatever you guys are gonna do today. But anyway, bye-bye.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.